Hello everyone and welcome back to Cities Skylines 2, where today we'll try something a little different, as we'll be attempting to build a realistic North American New Mexico inspired desert city, complete with its own thriving little low density downtown, circle irrigation farming, industrial sites and beautiful nature. Now there are of course a ton of custom maps for Cities Skylines 2 already, but honestly I find that the Waterway Pass map in the vanilla game pretty much fits the kind of theme I want to go for here, at least the geographical features. So we're gonna select this map, ensure that we have North American selected. I'm gonna unlock everything and play with unlimited money to just run free with my creativity here. And we'll also be doing some extensive modifications to the map, so having all those tiles available is a good start. And then we're just gonna hit start. Okay, so obviously upon loading this map, we are pretty far away from New Mexico, although the cliffs and mountains really does seal it quite well. The first thing we're gonna have to do is just change the textures completely. So we're gonna utilize the MapTextureReplacer mod and select the desert map theme. And voila, as you can see, that makes a massive difference, and it's already a much better fit, because all of it is now super arid and deserty looking. I'm gonna do a little extra change while we're at map textures, and the thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this far tiling slider and then I'm gonna go down to about 20 to create some more rough cliff edges here, some more rough textures, and I think this looks a lot better. Now we've got more changes to do, but before we continue, we're just gonna creatively name our city Eisenberg. With this super creative New Mexico themed name in place, we're gonna start changing up some of the landscape surrounding the river that flows through the area here. So we're just gonna go ahead and buy all the map tiles that are adjacent to the rivers of this map. And we've got a small one here as well. Yoink. And then I'm going to use the TreeController mod to add forests alongside the river and just make the area surrounding the river a bit more lush than it currently is. So I'm gonna utilize the TreeController mod, and then I'm gonna select the brush tool. And then what I'd like to do is create a custom brush so that I can easily place the type of trees I want. Now I've done a tiny bit of research on this, and there's a specific type of pine that grows pretty frequently throughout New Mexico, and then there's, at least in the suburbs, this oak looking-ish tree, for lack of a better description. So I think I want these two at least. So something that's pretty cool is that using the TreeController mod, if I hold down Control and select the oak, then I've got both trees selected now. And then I can also select some bushes, as I want plenty of shrubs to grow throughout. And now that I've got these 4 selected, if I hover over the 5 or one of these custom sets and I hold down Control and click, then I've now got a set that I can continue switching back and forth between. So with this set in place, the first thing I'm just gonna do is gonna disable Anarchy, and then I'm just going to add a layer of this brush throughout the like the river edges here. So that's the very first step. And whenever I'm at a terrain like this where we've got cliffs, then I'm gonna go really sparse with it. So I don't want the actual cliff texture or cliff side to be what's it called, populated by these trees and bushes. I just want the shoreline down here. And then whenever we've got a bit of a more less steep terrain, I'm gonna actually just add them like this. So I'm just gonna go through and do this. I'll also be removing some of the existing forests here on the map, at least here on the open plains where I imagine it's quite arid and quite hot. And then instead we're going to add a more dense layer of forest as we move up the mountains here, because I just imagine that there's going to be a bit more rain up here, there's going to be a bit more cloudy. So we'll be creating some forests that kind of creep up the cliff sides here. Don't know exactly how realistic this is, but We're always willing to bend realism to just kind of be creative and create the look we want, and I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. Now for the next modification, I want to make some of the river banks here a little more unique to kind of showcase that there are places where, due to the elevation and the currents of the water, the soil is a little more rich on nutrients. So for instance, we've got a bend here where we don't have any cliffside. We've got a pretty smooth shoreline here. What I'd like to do is try and kind of mimic that it's more nutrient rich. So I'm gonna select the, let's see, I think I'm gonna go for the forestry surface, and then I'm going to paint out this area here with this texture as such. So that's the start. And it looks kind of rough now. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna select my brush, number 5 if you remember. And then we're just gonna go a bit heavy on it. And then I've got another trick up my sleeve that I hope will complete this look. So this is a good start, but still a bit of a rough transition. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select the oak and the pine, and just have that as a brush. I'm gonna reduce the size a bit so it's more condensed, but what I'm about 60, and then I'm gonna enable Anarchy so that the trees are gonna be very, very close together. And then I'm gonna do my best to cover up this line, this very direct transition between desert and the forest area, which, I mean, in this case it's meant to resemble mud, or like wet soil at least. So we're gonna try and do this, and just gonna branch in here a bit as well, something like that. And then we'll grab the brush here with some bushes, and then I'm just gonna go heavy here right near the edge of the shoreline. And then let's have a look. Pretty happy with how this has turned out. So I'm gonna do this a few more times throughout, just to make it all look a little more interesting and better. And this is the final look. So we've added these patches throughout, as well as alongside the entire length of this small stream that originates up here in the mountains, and I am happy. This is a pretty good start, and we're about ready to actually begin building the city now. Now, the default starting area on this map is around this intersection here, but I'd actually like to build the city over here, so moving across the river first. So we're just gonna start doing that, and I'm gonna downgrade this to a 2-lane highway, and then we're just gonna enable contour lines, and then we're just gonna go straight all the way over here. And I'm actually just gonna go above the river here, but then I'm gonna delete some sections so that we can make this a proper bridge. I'll just remove these sections, which is probably fine. Then we'll grab, so the terrain is a bit higher over here, so we're gonna grab maybe this level, and then I'm just gonna go out, and then over here I'm gonna make the same thing, so sort of a plateau. I'll just delete this stretch of road here, and then we're gonna grab the slope terrain tool. I'm gonna reduce the size here a bit, right click, and then drag from all the way over here so that we've got like an embankment that the road is built on. I'm gonna right click over here as well, and yeah, we'll actually just delete that. That didn't really make all that much sense, I guess. Let's go ahead and grab the cool bridge we've got available here, get the alignment correct, and just go above the river, and that looks really nice. Just make sure to connect this all up. That looks fine, not too steep. And we'll do the very same over here, and I think we're just gonna go straight. This is America, so straight roads are up there with football games and barbecue. And we'll have a at-grade crossing here, which I think is fine, and this is a pretty good start. Let's just have a look at the bridge. It's time to move in and do some softening of the terrain. Some terraforming here. Soften up the coastline just a bit. And make this raised element stand out a bit more. Let's have a look. I am pretty happy with that. And we're just gonna continue this highway, leading it to nowhere really for now. Just due to the visual aspect of not just having it end abruptly outside of town. So it's just gonna follow the stream here, moving north. So for our initial road layout, I am going to upgrade this to maybe a 4-lane road actually, so that we've got our main street here, where we'll have the majority of our commercial establishments, something like this. And then I'm gonna grab a 2-lane road and map out the, I guess it's sort of a ring road, but it's kind of the outskirts of the actual town. And we are going to have some curves here, because otherwise it would probably look a bit odd. Gonna go underneath the railway bridge here. And just create something like this. Let's just make sure we've got a proper angle here. There you go. And we're of course gonna go in this direction as well, with a long segment. Oh, bit of a weird curve I added there. I think this is fine. And then we'll have a road near the rail line here that's also just gonna go out, and then this is going to transition into a highway segment or a national road, whatever you want to call it as well. And we're just gonna go straight for a long time, then make a bit of a curve and just go straight as well. And we're gonna connect this to all the way out here, make a new connection to a neighboring city. Moving back downtown, we'll be upgrading this road. Probably upgrade this as well to just a 2-laner as we move across the train tracks here. So this is really our main segment. Then I want this road to make a sharp turn, about 130, and then just connect straight into this one. And that sort of marks the outline of the town's area, as of right now at least, and then we can easily branch off with some more suburban development as we see fit. So let's create a bit of an additional road layout so that we can actually start mapping in some zoning when we're about ready for that. And we're gonna use a pretty conventional US style grid here, but we are gonna change a few road types just to mix it up a bit, make it a little more interesting. Sprinkle in these small alleys as well. They always just help create a bit of a better look, I feel. One here, and we can run that through, I think, something like this. And then we'll grab a bigger road here and just run that straight through. And let's see, we can have an alleyway in here as well. And just gonna add a road here just for randomness. Gonna connect up to our main street here. Actually, maybe we should just go all the way through down to about here. And then we're gonna add a bit of an off angle to this one. Gonna come through here, switch to our alley, create a segment here. And then maybe just a bit of a weird segment here that I can't explain, but there's probably a good story behind it. And we'll grab an alley here as well, run that across. And that's a pretty good start. And then we'll actually add an additional road that runs alongside the coastline here. Coastline, shoreline. And just branches off with a few suburban streets. Maybe a cul-de-sac or two. So we'll just emulate that with a few roundabouts here and there. We'll add one here as well. And I like that. That added a bit of extra randomness as well. It kind of breaks up the grid as well to just have something that kind of branches off in a bit of a different angle. And then we are filling in the triangle over here. Adding a road and another one. And just, let's see. Symbol connection. An alley down here and moving south. Or north or whatever. I'm just saying things by this point. Trying to make an interesting road layout here. And provide a narrative at the same time. Anyways, it's starting to look like a pretty good start for the next steps, which will of course involve some zoning and placing a few service buildings. But I also have to think about providing an industrial job base for the city. So let's just check the wind direction. This is perfect because I can create maybe an industrial area here. Or actually that's gonna blow into some of the residential here. So maybe we're gonna move across. Or alternatively, we can create the industrial area out here even. Let's just see if I can. I'm gonna try and align this with the current train line. And then we're gonna connect this up so that we can have some industry in here. Just gonna add a cul-de-sac. And it's gonna be a little more interesting if we have some two-way train tracks that kind of branch off. Maybe a bit of a rail yard here, which we can add some details on to in just a second. Or actually, we're gonna wait with detailing that. That's really not our priority right now. But I do think it's pretty good to invest some time upfront in creating some industrial infrastructure. It's gonna make our city look more interesting. And now we've definitely got a bit of a base out here where we can add some manufacturing industry. Anyways, let's get our utilities sorted out. So we've got an outside connection here for some electricity, and I wouldn't mind running some power lines into town, as that's probably gonna look pretty good. So we're just gonna utilize this outside connection. I don't want to try and create some, major coal power plant or anything like that. At least not for now. So we're just gonna align the, oh wait, that's gonna create, yeah, it's gonna create this clipping thing into the ground. Super annoying. Hopefully that's not, we can't avoid that. Wow. What if we lower it? Well, actually that seems to work. That's weird. Okay. I guess I've learned that then. So if we lower this to 8.5, then the weird holes that are gonna form underneath disappears. So that's good to know. And then we should be able to make sort of a symbol connection. Actually, we can just drag this through. That's gonna look pretty nice, isn't it? As long as it's not on the, as long as it's alongside the road here. And I actually just went ahead and lowered these sections here that cross through the town of Heisenberg to 5 meters in height instead, because it looks a little more the correct scale. We're not exactly gonna have high rises in town, so it shouldn't be an issue. And next ones up is of course some water and sewage. Let's see, the water tower is like the classic approach, and it would probably be a pretty good fit in town. Let's see if we've got, oh wait. How do I, yeah, let's see if we've got some, we actually do have groundwater out here, so we might actually just make a groundwater installation out here. And I'm gonna spend a bit of extra time making this nice. So let's see, we'll go straight out 90 and then just add a random road here. Gonna go ahead and grab our installation. Disable snapping so that I can move it a bit further away. Maybe place it here. Let's see, do we have any... We can't really expand with like an additional building, unfortunately, but I guess we could actually add the water treatment plant as well. Let's see if we add that here. And I just drag the road out for a bit further. Add this in. We add a roundabout and we create like a... Let's see, create some lanes here. I think that's actually pretty cool. We could add like a, yeah, just adding a simple parking lot would probably just add a bit of additional detail to this whole area. Adding one here and maybe adding one over here, that should be sufficient. But I find that spending just a bit of extra time detailing these places here is it's a pretty good investment, because the service buildings do tend to have a unique look in your town. So just spending that bit of extra time is worthwhile, especially when we don't have more assets available than we do in game. And then we're gonna run these water pipes underneath the road where they belong, and make sure we've got a connection to Heisenberg. And I guess we could sprinkle in a bit of stuff from our custom set here, just a bit of greenery as well, and maybe even some paths. Trying to keep the detailing light, don't want to go too heavy. It's not exactly the most important area of the city. And I wonder if the ground pollution of the treatment plant is actually gonna mess with our groundwater. I guess we're gonna find out. And to just add the final touches to this area, I think I'm actually gonna move my transformer station over here as well. And we can once again just move it a bit further away from the road. Is this actually the... It has to turn right like this, right? Yes. Great. Okay, now we're just gonna move it in here, add a bit of distance and a bit of alignment. Yoink. And then of course we'll have to connect up these major ones. And I don't know if you noticed, but I learned that if you actually elevate... Oh wait, let me just enable the large increments. If you elevate by a lot, or by 10, you actually get a different type of power line altogether, which I think is pretty cool. I didn't know that, at least. Yeah, anyways, back to connecting this all up. There you go, I think that looks pretty good. And then let's see, I'll probably need to add this connection here. I assume so, at least, and just add a connection here. There you go. Adding in the paths, because why not? We're keeping it simple. There you go, and then just the brush we used, brush 5 without Anarchy. And I think with all that done, we are ready to start zoning. So I'm just going to map out Heisenberg here, create a district. I love the district tool in Cities Skylines 2. I really find that to be a pretty big improvement over its predecessor. So for now, we're just gonna frame in what we've got so far. Let's see, Heisenberg. And then we're gonna start zoning, and we'll rename Summit Street to Main Street due to my amazing creativity. And then it intersects with Holly Street, and we'll have the bulk of our commercial developments alongside Main Street, and then maybe stretching a bit down Holly Street as well before we transition to some industrial stuff over here. I'm not really sure how. I'm not gonna do anything about that. That's fine. That's fine. Let's get some zoning going. And I want to try and emphasize some pretty large zoning sizes so that we get these not quite big box stores, but some pretty large grocery stores, gas stations and whatnot. And I'm just gonna go pretty liberal with the zoning here. And we've got a large corner lot here. We've got a bit of a smaller one here as well. But I'm not gonna zone on this side. I want like maybe a small recreational park here or something. I'm gonna go something like this and then have a bit more commercial out here. And then I'm gonna start sprinkling in some parking lots up front. And I prefer to use this medium-sized one. The small one is all right, but it's fenced in. Which I feel makes it a little more tricky to use. I am going to maybe add one here though. But I prefer the medium one, definitely. And we can have this corner as well. So plenty of parking, but this is a low density US downtown, so it would be weird to not have plenty of parking. With that said though, I am going to sprinkle in some European low density commercial as well, because I think that for the low density stuff the look is generic enough that we can pretty much use both zoning styles, and it's gonna create a bigger diversity basically in the type of assets we'll see growing. So that's why I prefer to mix it up. And I think we can add maybe just a few stores out here as well before we move on to some low density residential. I'm gonna add a small plaza in here in the center of the city. Nothing fancy, just a small one to raise land value a bit and create a bit of some recreational space as well. Now we are gonna get a lot of grass textures underneath our buildings and our houses, but I've got a good idea for just removing that, which I'm hopeful is gonna look very sweet and make this build look really unique. But I'm gonna hold off on doing that for just a moment while I place down maybe a small park as well. Just wanna raise the land value ever so slightly throughout small segments of the town, because we are going to grow most of our residential units. They're going to be naturally grown, so I want to make sure that they can actually level up so we get a bit of diversity in the type of buildings we'll be seeing. Adding in a dog park out here and maybe a dog park here as well. Something like that. That's going to help. It's going to help with the desirability at least. Then we're gonna place the Heisenberg Elementary School, and I think a spot like this would be fine. Once again, I would really love for us to have more different assets, but yeah, that's just not the case right now. And let's see, can I actually make it at a bit of an angle here, just to make the fit a little more custom? I'm gonna try, and then we're just gonna tweak a road to kind of make this a little more snugly fit. There we go. And once again, I am going to fix the textures up, don't worry. We'll need a police station. This is America, we're tough on crime here. And once again, it's quite a bulky asset. Would have loved for some smaller variations, but Maybe there's a pretty good spot here. Is it too tight or yeah, it's a little too tight. So let's just move it in here, steal a bit of commercial zoning. Fire station. Now I can't imagine there be a fire hazard out here. Just kidding. Let's get a fire station in place as well. This time around we'll once again align it alongside Main Street, and we'll just move out here. And I always advise to manually place your service buildings without snapping. It's just gonna help it make it a little more distinct basically. And while the service buildings are too big, they are also nice looking, fortunately, so that kind of helps. Healthcare, well, we have to make some money, so why not provide super expensive healthcare as well. And we'll just need to find somewhere to place this. Could be alongside, no wait, let's see, that could be alongside Holly Street here. There's actually plenty of space. I'm gonna place it at an angle though. So let's just go for something like this. Yeah, and maybe, yeah, that's fine. It's a good start. And now we've pretty much got everything in place to start growing the city. We are of course gonna need some low density housing, proper US style. And for this, I'm just gonna try and just zone completely normal here and not do any manual shenanigans. And then hopefully it's gonna turn out all right. I've got a little texture trick I'm gonna use with the houses here, which is hopefully gonna make this build look quite cool and unique. So I think that with that said, I'm just gonna zone normally, and then we'll see how it all turns out afterwards. So let's just get this in place. And I think that pretty much covers what I want to zone for now, residential wise. So we are gonna hit play now and let the city of Heisenberg start growing. I'm not gonna manually zone the industrial stuff though, because I do not want a bunch of chimneys here. I want the industry to be, you know, warehouse based basically. So I'm going to use developer mode here, and I'm gonna search for plop warehouse, and then I am going to manually be plopping these down, because that is going to mean that I can avoid the chimneys I want to avoid and just focus on creating nice industrial areas instead. An office or two as well, just to round out this area. Low density, of course. It was just about to place a skyscraper, which is probably not the fit I want. But there you go. Much better looking than all the chimneys. And like I've said before, I wish there's like a district option that kind of just banned all the buildings with chimneys. It's a very small thing, but I really think it would help us out. Now pretty much all the residential units have grown now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the places where the terrain differences is a little too extreme, and then I'm just gonna narrow down the zoning of that just a bit to make it look a little more natural and not have these really sharp terrain edges, because that just doesn't look all that great. So I'm just gonna go through here and dezone some of this to create a bit of a better look. So for instance here, I'm just gonna dezone the last part here so that these houses are just gonna be a little less deep on the actual lots. And we'll do the very same thing here. And I don't want a house right beneath the train. That's probably a bit too extreme. And we're just gonna move through and do the same. Something like that, and then I'm just gonna let that regrow, because that's just gonna look a little less extreme, I think. And then I'm gonna try out this little terrain trick, because the grassy fields of all these houses doesn't really fit in. I know that, you know, if they really use a ton of water each year, then maybe you could keep a nice green lawn like this, but I don't think it fits into our New Mexico theme. So using the BetterBulldozer mod, I'm going to target surfaces, and then I am going to pretty much move ahead and start, oh, that's wrong, this one. Then I'm gonna start deleting the lawns of each and every single family house in Heisenberg. So this is gonna take a little while, but when I get back to you, then hopefully it's also gonna look pretty cool and fit the theme of the map a little better. Okay, so that certainly took an ungodly amount of time, but honestly, I think it was all worth it. I think the city fits in with its surroundings much better now. So really positive change. And an additional surface painter change we can do is, of course, just to add some like very simple segments to the commercial area to just fill in the area a bit more, adding different types of asphalt and whatnot. Just gonna make it feel a little more fit, such as this. We've got here as well. And you can of course do this much more detailed and intricate than I'm doing it now, but it's just as a way of showcasing that you can very quickly just add an improved look by pretty much just adding the most basic of surfaces. Oh yeah, I need to, let's see, I need to remove these trees and planters before I do anything here. So let's just go for this yank. Same very much is the case for our industry out here. Adding the most basic of stuff really does add a lot. So if we just do like this, for instance, move all the way over here, then that really just adds to the industrial vibe. We've got some polished concrete. Very interesting texture, some withered asphalt, some cracked asphalt, and all kinds of good stuff. Good stuff that we can add to create some very easy details. And then adding in a parking lot or two is probably something I should have done initially for the industrial area. Must admit I just kind of forgot it, I guess. But that's of course also gonna bring in some of that extra detail that we want. Extra character at least. Oink. And let's just add the simplest of details. So if we say container, we can actually grab a pile, a small one. And that is one quick and easy way to just detailing up this area, adding in a few containers here and there. And I think that's fine. Maybe we'll add 2 here as well. And then let's see if we can actually grab like some, not garbage, maybe trash instead. Trash pile random. That is just what we want. Well, no one really wants it, right? But this is a bit of a grimy industrial area, so just adding a bit of trash throughout is probably a good way to detail it. Don't have a million props at my disposal, so we gotta be creative, and I think this is just fine. And then finishing off with maybe some truck trailers, probably. Truck trailers even. The golden combo. Just gonna have a few of those throughout as well. Now be careful, you need a proper bulldozer mod to actually be able to like remove these again. So yeah, use at your own risk. That's what I'm trying to say. But they do add a lot of detail and are pretty simple to place. So I think that is, we can, is this like a loading area? I think it is. So we can add, let's just add one here as well. There we go, bit of detailing. Also, before we move on, I should say that I've moved the wastewater treatment plants away from our groundwater resources because I did a little checkup, and as you can probably see, the ground was starting to pollute. Big surprise. I guess some of you probably cringed at me when I placed it there, but should be fixed now. So the next couple of things I want to do is, first I want to add in a bit of a park here in downtown Heisenberg by expanding this plaza. Then we're gonna add in an additional low density residential area right about here. And then we're gonna start adding in some of the farming industries that kind of hog this small river here moving north, where there's plenty of water resources. So for the plaza first, the first thing I'm just gonna do is dezone these 2 houses at least, maybe even the 3 of these. There you go. And then we're just gonna grab some of the simple paths here and just add them, and that's pretty much what we're gonna call a park. So something like this is pretty much what I want. We might even add in a small playground while we're at it around here, and then I am going to decorate this with some trees as well. We're gonna go for our oaks and our pines. And that's pretty much what we're gonna call it a day. That's a park. For the additional suburban area, we're gonna try and do sort of the same road layout I've been doing throughout. So very few strict grids, instead going for some more interesting layouts altogether. So I think if we go out here and then we just follow this one through, if we can. Hello, there you go. Like this. And then we'll branch out from here, connect it, and we'll add in a cul-de-sac out here. And then maybe we can even just have a road that connects back to the highway as well. There you go, a super simple layout, but one which should be relatively easy for us to zone up. And of course, I am going to move through each and every house and remove their pretty green lawns or gardens, because we don't want any of that here. This is barren, arid county. It's nothing more fun than removing these textures, and the great part is that as soon as houses upgrade, I have to remove their lawns all over again. Anyways, I've also removed some crosswalks from most intersections in the suburban areas, so we've only got crosswalks alongside the main street here and Holly Street. Next up is a big thing, as we're gonna build the farming area here alongside the riverbed, and I think I'm going to downgrade this highway here to a 2-laner instead, this alleyway, which is like a rural road basically, because we don't really have an outside connection up here anyways, so I don't think it should be a decent capacity highway or national road. And then we're gonna create some farming alongside this road here, and in some places I'm gonna go with the like conventional farming. So for instance here, we can just create an entirely ordinary farm, maybe make it a bit bigger than it otherwise could be. But pretty conventional nonetheless. And then we can add in the textures on top actually, if we want to make the farm a little more interesting. So this is a very classical grain farm, but it doesn't have to be. We can move in here and add a different type of texture on top of it. For instance, we've got the scattered leaves, which we can actually add. So if we just make sure to kind of go through the entire farm here and say complete, then it changes the look to something that is, you know, a bit crazy color-wise, but helps add in a bit of extra detail. And I don't really know what type of farming you would have in New Mexico, so I am gonna stir a bit away from realism here. I realize that. Anyways, we might as well have a field here as well, so I'm just gonna downgrade this one as well. And we'll add in another grain farm. And the reason I'm using the grain is I don't want any buildings to spawn here. And maybe we'll just mix it up a bit by adding in a small dirt road and then adding the farm to that. And then just filling it out. And I think I'll just go to here and then we'll have something custom in between the two. There we go. And then in between these two, we'll just add like a grassy field, I think. And of course, we'll remove some of the trees here. Now, of course, just having a field like this is not going to generate any workplaces, but one thing we can do to alleviate that is just place some sort of industrial building here. So if we say industry and we might even just say agriculture, then we can find something we can place that looks interesting. So it could be this one, for instance. So if I place that one and just make sure to zone underneath, then that's of course gonna add some workplaces as well. And then something interesting I want to try is creating these circle farms that you can find many places in the US, or mainly in the more arid places. And I think the technical term is center pivot irrigation or something like that. And they look so interesting, especially from space. So we're gonna try creating some of these. So what I'm gonna do is gonna extend the road here. Should probably buy this tile instead of being a cheap ass and cheating with Anarchy. Oh well. And then we're gonna create a few dirt roads, and I don't want it to be completely strict grid. And then I am going to, let's see, so these are actually pretty big. So maybe I should just try and create them before I do anything else. So what I'm just gonna do is make sure I remove all of this. Then we're gonna say circle. And we're gonna grab a little bush. And then I'm gonna create this circle something like this, because that is gonna allow me to use the surface textures and get a perfect circle in place. So I'll create one here. And it's gonna have a sibling. And then we're gonna add in a dirt path to split those up. Maybe even add in a dirt path more so that we can have a few smaller versions. Which is probably not all that realistic, because you want a large, like big scale, right? But just trying to make it interesting looking now. And then we'll break this up with another dirt path and have a bit of industry here, maybe. So I think this is a pretty good start. And now my idea is that I can use these bushes to align my textures. So let's start with this type of really lush, grassy texture. And this is gonna take a while. I don't know why I open myself up to this, but here I am. So I'll see you guys in 5 minutes. Well, this looks pretty good. Added a bit of texture underneath as well, just to change the color of the soil a little bit. And I wonder if we can actually make this functional. So if we grab a grain farm and we just align it perfectly in between the two here and then just try and expand on the district tooling, this one here, then I wonder if we can just, we'll pretty much be able to maybe just make this whole thing functional. Then we can maybe make like small paths out to the dirt roads as well. Let's just try this out. I mean, that's that's actually pretty good, right? Maybe we can just remove the lawn from this guy as we do with everything here. Now, of course, I'll need to remove these bushes here because they don't really make sense. So I'm just gonna have to remove them, and I've added a few just next to these farms, and I think that's fine. So hopefully the fence that is now revealed from the farm isn't too crazy looking, but actually looks all right. Made sure to add in a few extra bushes, and looks pretty good. I think these houses though are a little too close to the agricultural place here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna remove these rows here that are the closest. I'm just gonna dezone it as well. And then I think we're gonna go for a pretty simple road to just cut through here. And then we'll just turn it, cut in here, and then we're just gonna place some very random dirt roads here. You know, something like this pretty much. And I find that I don't actually have to place anything here because this is detailing on its own, just adding roads where, you know, there used to be something else or stuff like that. So I think that's really interesting. I think with that said, we do have space for another small crop circle here. And I know that I'm making these like way too small for, you know, the size they would actually be in real life. But this is Cities Skylines, so we are trying to work with a bit of a smaller scale. Actually, this is too small, so just scratch what I'm saying. I think we're gonna turn parts of this into an actual field instead. But the actual crop circles I have made so far, they're way too small. When you check Google Maps and look at the size of these, some of them at least are absolutely massive. So that's very interesting. But let's just make a symbol field here. Like this. And then I'll just remove this, and we might even have space for like an agricultural building maybe. Let's see, a level 5 something. That isn't too big, so we could go with something like this maybe. Plop that in here, and these aren't ploppables with the RICO mod, so we do have to go in and zone, but that's fine. Does create a bit of jobs and looks quite good as well. Anyways, it's time to continue some sprawling farmlands moving up the river here, and I'm probably gonna move the road network across this river somewhere up here and then continue a bit further up here, but let's just get going. pretty happy with how this has turned out. I know I said I wanted to cross the river and add in some more agriculture to this side, but then this video is just gonna spiral completely out of control. It's probably gonna be pretty long to start with, and there's still a fun little piece of trivia, I guess, that I would like to add. So for this, we are gonna go all the way out here alongside Crescent Highway, and then we need to create a dirt path. Look at the hidden alley we've got up here. Very interesting. It's a place where you could go in like an RV or a camper van and do stuff, I guess. Maybe you need to make money. Something's happened to your family, and the way you're earning money currently through normal means just isn't gonna cut it. So what do? Not really sure, but maybe you start cooking something. Now I don't have an RV, but I do have a camper van I can add out here. Like here maybe, and like a proper truck that would carry it. Maybe a small smashed up car. Oh, that didn't work. Oh yeah, they're gonna disappear. That's right. So that's not gonna work. Well, I guess we'll just go with the RV for now. Can I place it on the road then? No. Oh. Anyways, we're gonna go with the RV, and it would be awesome if we had like a smoke effect we could actually add. Smoke from fire. But if I click, does anything happen? No, this is probably for internal use or the map editor or something like that. But there we go. We've got something happening out here at least. I guess it's pretty rare you don't want your houses to upgrade, but I'm getting pretty sick of this. I'm going to add the final little stretch of residential, and then it's gonna be a wrap. So very, very simple. We are moving out here. We're turning. We're gonna hit the intersection we've got over here. All right. Then we're adding a very simple road here and going 90 degrees. Just gonna move it all the way in here. Yeah. What? Yeah, that's not gonna work. Let's see if we can just get a normal connection going. There we go. That's probably a little better. And why not a little cul-de-sac to finish things off? Then we'll of course be zoning this up. Yoink, 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 yoink. Like that. We're gonna hit play and let that grow, and then we're gonna do the same over here, just adding in the final bits and pieces to our residential area. Maybe even connect up this road here with the farming area, overriding this road entirely, or something like this. And then we'll make sure we don't have any crossings here, because it's very rural. And let's see, do we have space for few extra suburban roads? We do. Get ourselves a nice cul-de-sac here at the very end. One here and one here, and then I'm going to add the very final bits of zoning. And of course I'm gonna move in and remove the green yards from all of them. And then I'm gonna put myself in a straitjacket, because I've gone insane now with all this garden destroying. So if I hit play again, things are gonna start upgrading once more, and I can't take anymore. So this is gonna be a wrap, and this build has been super challenging, but it's also been very, very fun trying out some new, to me at least, techniques that I haven't used before in order to try and mimic this sort of New Mexico look. I hope you guys have found it enjoyable as well, and that you've enjoyed my not so subtle references to Breaking Bad as well. I think I'm gonna leave you guys with some hopefully juicy cinematics, and then in the comments I'll be very open to hear What do you guys think I should build next? I think I'm on a bit of a roll when it comes to these thematic standalone builds. It's at least a lot of fun to try and challenge myself with the limited asset variability we have in Cities Skylines 2. So yeah, in the comments, I'd be very interested to hear you guys. Anyways, gonna shoot those cinematics and hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.